Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Joey Harris, and we are broadcasting from makeshift studios in the shadow of South Central Virginia. Follow the show on Twitter and Blue Sky at Cup of Joe Pod. Email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. You can also support the show at paypal.me/cupofjoepod. I am on Cash App and Venmo if you would like to give a little bit. That way I'm at the Joey Harris. And of course, patreon.com/babykangaroo media for bonus shows of the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show, the Joey Harris Super Show, the Green Room, Book Club Baristas, and so much more. Just $5 a month for hours of extra content. And folks, right up here at the top of the show, I would just like to send out my condolences. It's been a few weeks since we last had a one-on-one episode. I did the last two episodes with Tyler going over WrestleMania 41, but I just want to send out my condolences on the losses. We had some losses in the pro wrestling community. Hisashi Shinma, giant in Japanese pro wrestling, and also the kayfabe president of the WWF after Willie Gilzenberg, but before Jack Tunney. We also lost Steve Mongo McMichael, NFL Hall of Famer and great wrestling personality, former member of the Four Horsemen, WCW broadcaster, and all of that passed away, as well as the wife of Bob Caudle, Jackie Caudle, passed away, and they had just celebrated, I think someone said, 76 years of marriage. That is awesome, folks. So our condolences go out to their friends and fans and family. Today we take a look at Gangsta's Paradise from ECW. And I realize we go from condolences and our sincerest thoughts and condolences to that to today we take a look at Gangsta's Paradise from ECW. Is that just not that is wrestling in a nutshell right there, folks. But Gangsta's Paradise took place on September the 16th, 1995 from the ECW Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. There were 1,175 in attendance. We start out with our intro and then Bull Payne versus the Broad Street Bully. Payne attacks Bully right away. They trade blows. Bully uses the stick on Payne. It goes outside. Bully with a flurry of offense. Payne suplexes Bully on a table and hits Bully with the hockey stick. Payne DDTs Bully on the table. Payne with a power slam for a 2 count. Back and forth. Payne throws Bully out. He hits a flying clothesline on Bully. He puts Bully in a chair and then clotheslines Bully again. Bully crotches Payne on a ring post. Bully attacks Payne with a chair. Payne drops Bully on the guardrail. Bully slams a soda into Payne's head. Payne with a superplex from the top turnbuckle. And then Payne hits an elevated DDT to win. The Dudleys make their way to the ring. Big Dick Dudley is on crutches. Chad Austin and Don E. Allen versus Dudley Dudley and Dances with Dudley with Big Dick, Chubby, and Sign Guy Dudley. Austin and Dances start. Austin keeps away from Dances, back and forth. Dances with a face-first suplex. Dudley tagged in. He beats Austin in the corner. He hits a snap suplex for a 2 count. Dances tagged in. Dudley hits a backbreaker and Dances gets an elbow drop. Allen tagged in. Dances hits a drop kick. Dudley beats on Austin outside the ring. Dudley tagged in and suplexes Allen, and then he hits a splash to get the pin. JT Smith versus Hack Myers. They lock up and push off. Myers with a side headlock takeover. Smith chops Myers in the corner. The crowd taunts Smith. Myers with a side headlock into a hammerlock back and forth. Smith with a side headlock. Smith misses a tope when Myers moves. Myers hits a clothesline, and then they brawl all over the building. Smith slammed on the outside. Smith begs off. Myers hits a backdrop. Smith goes for a moonsault but falls off and goes through a timekeeper's table outside and gets counted out. Taz and the Steiner brothers Rick and Scott versus Too Cold Scorpio and the Eliminators Saturn and Cronus and Jason. Jason tells Scorpio that he doesn't need to be in the match, but Scorpio attacks Taz from behind, allowing Jason and company to take the advantage. The Steiners clear the ring. This match is clipped. Each man gets their time to shine. Taz beats Jason. Referee John Finnegan checks on Taz's neck. Taz pushes him out of the way. Scorpio comes in and attacks Taz and puts Jason on Taz, and Jason gets the pin. Double dog collar match for the ECW World Tag Team Championship. Raven and Stevie Richards with Beulah versus the Pitbulls. If the Pitbulls lose, they will have to disband. Richards doesn't come out with Raven. The Pitbulls come out looking determined. Beulah gets in and says Richard broke his arm the previous night and says Raven will defend the belts alone in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Raven and Pitbull 2 are chained up. Pitbull 2 attacks Raven. Pitbull 1 goes back to the locker room. Pitbull 2 chokes Raven with the chain and hits Raven with the chain. Pitbull 1 brings Richards out and he is chained to Pitbull 1. Richards gets hit with a chair. Raven pile drives Pitbull 2 through a table to win the first fall. Second fall, double DDT to Pitbull 1. They now pair off. You get several 2 counts. Pitbull 2 throws a table into the ring. Richards superbomb through the table and Pitbull 1 gets the pin. Third fall. Raven hits Pitbull 2 with a chair. Richards is a bloody mess. They fight out into the crowd. Pitbull 2 puts another table in the ring. Raven throws Pitbull 2 into referee Jim Molyneux. The Dudleys come in and attack the Pitbulls. They help Raven and Richards superbomb the Pitbulls, but the Pitbulls no-sell it and get back up. They double DDT both of the other teams. Pitbull superbomb both Dudleys. The Pitbulls set up another table. Pitbull superbomb Raven onto the table, but his head only hits the corner of it in a nasty-looking bump. Pitbull 2 gets a 2 count. A Pitbull chant goes out. Raven soaks a rag with ether and puts Pitbull 2 through 2 tables. Pitbull 1 with a suplex to Richards. Pitbull 1 crotches Richards on the top rope and suplexes Richards through a table. Raven unhooks himself from Pitbull 2 and breaks up the pin attempt. Medics are checking on Pitbull 2. Beulah gets in the ring and she is attacked by Francine. Raven DDTs Francine. Tommy Dreamer comes in and chains himself to Raven. He DDTs Raven and pins him. And we have new ECW World Tag Team Champions. Bill Alphonso comes out. He doesn't allow the pin and says the match has to be called off because Pitbull 2 couldn't continue. Todd Gordon comes out and restarts the match. Big Dick Dudley gets in the ring and chokeslams Dreamer. Alfonso says he's allowing the chokeslam tonight. 911 comes out and chokeslams Alfonso to a massive pop. Pitbull 2 comes back. He superbombs Richards and Raven. Gordon counts the pin. They all then pose for the crowd. Rey Mysterio versus Psychosis. The bell rings and they circle each other. They lock up and Mysterio with an arm drag and throws Psychosis out of the ring. Psychosis comes back with a hammerlock. That takes Mysterio out. A series of moves and counters. The crowd loves the action. Psychosis dumps Mysterio to the canvas. Psychosis drops Mysterio hard down on the turnbuckle. He follows it up with a drop kick and a tilt-a-whirl slam and a leg drop. Psychosis with some chops in the corner. Psychosis with a corner splash. He misses the second one when Mysterio moves. Mysterio with a springboard Hurricane Rana for a 2 count. Back and forth. They fight out on the apron. Psychosis spills out to the floor. Mysterio chops Psychosis in the corner. Mysterio misses a splash when Psychosis moves. Psychosis hits a top rope leg drop for a 2 count. Psychosis with a modified Tiger Bomb. Psychosis with a spinning heel kick. Psychosis goes for a tope, but Mysterio holds up a chair and Psychosis hits that instead. Psychosis hits a top rope 1.5 tumbleweed. Mysterio hits a springboard plancha onto the second row. Mysterio hits a Hurricane Rana on Psychosis, who was on the top rope, to get the pin. The Gangstas and the Public Enemy fight in the dressing room. Joey Styles goes to cover it and runs into Steve Austin. Austin is great here, putting down WCW in his Hulk Hogan parody. Main event cage match. The Public Enemy, Rocco Rock and Johnny Grunge and Mikey Whipwreck versus Too Cold Scorpio, New Jack, and the Sandman with Woman. Public Enemy and Whipwreck are massively over with the crowd. Whipwreck is dressed like Public Enemy. Sandman and Woman come out and do their entrance. New Jack and Scorpio then come out. It takes a while to get started. During introductions, New Jack grabs the mic and says Mustafa had a run-in with the police, so Scorpio stepped in to take his place, and then went on a profanity-filled rant against everything. They finally start brawling all over. They take turns running each other into the cage. Rock with a beautiful moonsault into a Russian leg sweep on Sandman for a 2 count. Grunge is bleeding, back and forth, and Sandman is now bleeding. Grunge and New Jack get out and fight at ringside. Whipwreck and Sandman fight on top of the cage. Grunge and New Jack fight near the announce table. Grunge drops an elbow, and Jack is bleeding. Jack with a flying elbow drop of his own. He misses a headbutt. Whipwreck with a Hurricane Rana on Sandman for a 2 count. Wrestlers down all over. Grunge chokes New Jack with a section of the rope they use to section off areas. Sandman suplexes a table into Whipwreck and Rock. They all get back in the ring and trade blows. Rock hitting people with a frying pan. Scorpio hits a DDT on Whipwreck. Public Enemy and Whipwreck stack 3 tables up in the ring. Scorpio and Rock fight on top of the cage and both crash through all 3 tables. Sandman takes one of the tables and slams it on Grunge to break up a pin attempt. Whipwreck with a crossbody for a 2 count on Sandman. Whipwreck with a Hurricane Rana from the top of the cage to get another 2 count on Sandman. Whipwreck hits the splash from the top of the cage to get the pin on Sandman. Rock goes after Woman. Woman had locked the cage door. Sandman gets the cane and canes Whipwreck in the cage. Sandman hits a leg drop on Whipwreck from the cage. Rock and Grunge climb the cage and Sandman climbs out. Woman trying to drag Sandman back to the locker room as Public Enemy and Whipwreck celebrate in the ring. The heels try to climb the cage. They attack the faces and Whipwreck canes Sandman. They fight to the locker room as they sign off from Pennsylvania. Final thoughts. The show was worth it to see Steve Austin before he goes to the WWF. You can follow me on Facebook, Threads, and Instagram at TheJoeyHarris. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or your preferred podcast app. I would really appreciate it. We can also be found on Spotify and YouTube. Just search for the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show and don't forget to hit subscribe. Thank you for joining me this week. This is Joey saying so long from the heart of Virginia.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.